Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a very important topic, and that is how do you move through and get to the other side after you have experienced psychopathic gaslighting, brainwashing, the psychological hijack that causes the self-abandonment, the distorted and puzzled thinking, the confusion, the distorted cognitive dissonance, the struggle where you're really trying to sort things out and you don't really understand what you have just been through. You are involved with someone who perhaps you are seriously or severely attached to. There's a feeling of sort of enmeshment, or really a feeling when you are with really a psychopath, someone who has targeted you, someone who has inundated you with brainwashing and gaslighting, where your reality, your values have become distorted. You have, and how you know this is you begin to think differently as a result of this person. And not just like, oh wow, this person has made a positive impact on my life. Is that there's something really off, wrong, and really sort of not delusional, but really something different about the way that they think, the way that they align and order your thoughts, particularly that of your values and abstract notions. In other words, things like love, freedom, integrity, things like normal sleep routines, things like normal instinctual thought patterns, things like boundaries and standards, things like your values or what you inherently value are extracted or they are removed from your thought process. Psychopathic gaslighting is oftentimes at the hands of what is known as operational psychopaths. They look on the outside as extremely attractive, charming, charismatic. They might have, a smile that can go on for miles. They might have long legs. They might have really, great physique. They just seem to be fearless. They seem to be very successful. To get an idea of this, I highly recommend you watch the new Netflix documentary called Fire, the Fire Festival, F-Y-R-E. It kind of reminds me of Fry, like Fry Boots, but it's F-Y-R-E. This docu-series or document just came out, and it's hugely, vastly important that you understand in today's day and age, particularly that of the information age that we are currently in. You've heard about the agriculture age, the industrial age. We are definitely finding ourselves in the information age where we are at our fingertips, have the ability to access and utilize vast amounts of information in a quick and rapid manner that was not available to us even 20 or 25 years ago. So it has changed the face of reality now that we have the internet, now that we have Facebook, YouTube, MySpace, or whatever it is, and email. And it's very important because in that docuseries, there's also another one called You, Y-O-U, which has a number of different series. I would highly recommend you watch these, particularly Fire first, because I think you can do it in one day. So definitely check that out on Netflix. If you don't currently have Netflix, I would definitely recommend signing up for it while it's still inexpensive, because they are going to raise their rates, and it's so well worth it. And they do have a free trial membership, so definitely check it out, netflix.com. But operational psychopaths have the ability to have what psychopaths would describe as ice water running through their veins. They are completely unfeeling, cold, and they have a different perspective on the way that they look at things. They do not have a conscience. They do not have empathy. They do not experience fear, love, freedom, integrity. They don't really experience things like trust. They bypass any sort of moral stop that most people would have in terms of having, like, that would be wrong to do that. That unequivocally, we would get in trouble. That is your ethics. That's your integrity. And because of this, people who are involved with them begin to experience a corroding of this, and oftentimes a tunnel vision, which is basically a distorted thought process while they are around them. They lose sight of reality. They lose sight of their values. They lose sight of really what makes them inherently a humane, caring, feeling person, and it becomes removed and extracted for in place. This person is then in place of all that. So the psychopath, for them to gaslight, they need to really, break down your healthy thought process, what I would call positive, orderly direction thinking, which is your instinct. It's inherent. It's your intuition. It is your self-esteem. It is your self-trust. Trust within you is based on integrity. It's based on self-reliance. It's based on self-responsibility and really knowing that you have boundaries and standards, not only that you have erected, but you have erected and enforced and will adhere to no matter what the circumstances. In other words, even if you're hungry, you would still have ethics. You would not steal. You would go and seek, assistance. You would borrow money. You would learn how to a skill so that you could survive. That is your conscience at work. That is what conscience is. To have a conscience means to have a sense of right or wrong. In other words, I would not hurt my children. That would be wrong. I would not steal from my employer. That would be wrong. I would not steal this information. That would be wrong. I would not do this in this setting. That would be wrong. That would be against the law, integrity. That would be in violation of family. I would not turn my back. This is my family. I have family values. This is family friendly. These are some ways for you to understand really how a psychopath can then bypass these, engage in extremely high risk behaviors, particularly that of reorienting and confusing the natural thought process, the natural instinct, the natural intuition, the natural boundaries and standards which are inherent in a person. And people who are particularly weak and vulnerable are those people who have a sort of what predisposes you to being targeted and being brainwashed or gaslighted: loneliness, being extremely lonely. The person who, is the do-good person, but, a lot of people have taken advantage of this person, particularly someone maybe with a background which has predisposed them to feeling, social anxiety, being depressed, being alone, being isolated. Someone who has, a family of addiction. So they're used to this sort of abuse, in this sort of negligence, in this sort of abandonment or betrayal, and they are lacking boundaries and standards when they enter into life, enter into work settings, entering into relationships in their teens, their 20s, their 30s, that are abusive, that are bad influencers, that are they then latch onto these people in order to satisfy this need for a love, for a romance, for a partner, for commitment, for a parent, for a father, a mother, for someone to listen to them. And then here comes along, this psychopath who can read people's body language in a way that most people would not think of, scoping people out. In other words, they have a higher sense. In other words, because they are devoid of value or conscience due to their brain wiring, because of their hypersensitivity to dopamine, their elevated testosterone, and inactivity in their amygdala. They do not experience fear, and they, are really, really into things that give them reward, whether it's, money, whether it's title, whether it's status, whether it's having a big doctor practice, whether it's having, a lot of awards, whatever it is that they're into, duping people. They might just be into deceiving people, and that gives them this rush, this dopamine, which they're hypersensitive to. And then with an elevated testosterone, think of like a football player that's like, rah, they're just all in. They don't stop, and they don't have a conscience, so it gives them the ability to hurt, overwhelm, dominate, and seek to, really take people and, not have remorse, not have regret, engage in these extremely high risk behaviors, and continue despite evidence to the contrary that they're going to get in trouble. So these people, because of their inactivity also in their prefrontal lobe, where judgment and responsibility and forward thinking thought is really activated, they do not learn from their transgressions or getting in trouble. They just don't hold on to that knowledge. So a lot of people can be attracted to these people and be subject to their brainwashing and their gaslighting because they seem truly fascinating. These people don't flinch, they don't flail, their dog died and they're unaffected. They just, did this and got in trouble. They don't care. They just got into this and this fight, and they're just kind of like half an hour later, they don't really remember. They do not learn. So they just don't have the ability to have that emotional continuity through situations, events, and relationships. So you see them moving very rapidly through people. They can have second and third lives. They can juggle relationships. They can be married and have, 2 and 3 people going on the side full time, and they're not upset by it. They will utilize specific activities to distort other people's thinking, the way that they position themselves, the way that they catch people's attention, is very different than most people. So the way that they take their leadership, they're able to sort of charismatically and energetically sort of overwhelm people. They're able to distort normal thought process and have a sort of telepathic control, mind control over others. And there's, the psychopathic gaze, the psychopathic stare, which seems either very cold if they haven't transmuted and put on their mask. You feel this deep chill. You feel this deep fear. You feel this deep sort of paralyzing look. There's something in their emoting that is very, what I would call lethal, meaning, very, very, it pulls the life out of you. In other words, you feel like you're dropping everything emotionally when they're around. And this can then be flipped to the positive, where they seem extremely charismatic and sociable and charming, and they're taking people out for dinner or drinks, and they've just hit this big bonus or this big whatever new client if they're in the sales category, and they just seem to be in the beginning, poor pitiful me. They'll usually have a pity party or a feel sorry for me entrance, where they've been so, mistreated by previous people or jobs or the economy, or woe me. And then so everybody's like, oh, wow, no kidding, that happened to you. You broke your this, and this person did this to you. Oh, poor you. And then everybody's like, dropping their their guard. And then these people then are targeted. The people who, have a real emptiness or void in their life. They might need a mentor. They might need a big brother, a big sister, someone to treat them with opening the door, pumping their gas, paying for their dinner, giving them a gift. And then people become really sort of possessed by them. In other words, life can't really go on if they don't have this relationship. This person then distorts their thinking through what I would call sort of, psychopathic psychologic hijacking, where because these psychopaths, in my view, because they don't resonate with specific emotions like freedom, love, music, following a movie and then feeling for a character, having compassion, seeing, something and being a bystander and wanting to help. They don't experience this at all. So they will have like what I feel is like a Freudian reaction formation, where then they're this bigger than life, coming to the rescue. Let me set up a foundation. Let me, help you with this and this and this. So they become, this, but meanwhile, they're when they have you in their talons, in their clutches, then they're reading you. They're finding out what pushes your buttons, what makes you go, ooh, they'll call you by a nickname. They'll open the door for you. They will pump your gas. They will send you cute emails, cute texts, pictures. Oh my God, no one's ever sent me a picture like that. So the target has all these OMG moments where it's like, wow, this is like my knight or my nitrous in, shining armor. No one this attractive has ever loved me. No one this handsome has ever loved me. No one has really treated me this way. And then, you're willing to give them your keys, have them drive your car, get stuff to your bank account, get stuff to your business. You begin to trust them as a partner. They seem to be unassailable. There seems to be nothing wrong with them. They're too good to be true. And so people then get sort of soaked up or sort of transfixed by their distorted thought process, and then they allow or permit, without their knowing, sort of a rearranging of values in connection with everyday things like colors, events, records, meaning, paperwork. They begin to see things differently. Colors take different meaning. Shapes take different meaning. Work, artwork takes different meaning. Everything becomes sort of flipped around. And it's very scary because one important thing is that you should not begin to think like the psychopath. One problematic situation is then people then unwillingly or knowingly begin to adapt into the psychopathic thought style. In other words, they begin to become addicted, seduced. They might, violate your boundaries, either in love or work or relationships. Having you miss meetings, miss your kids, miss your bills, miss your sleep routine, miss your eating, abandon your family, abandon your job, because they will break you down by the way that they want you to always be thinking about them, because they are so different. So people will latch on and get sort of into this distorted thought process, and they will then become fascinated by them, sort of, really become transfixed on the psychopathic gaze. They seem to metamorphosize energy, space, and time. A desk, no longer becomes a desk. It becomes a stage for their tap dance. Things become really flipped. It's a very strange phenomenon. And unless you have really witnessed this, seen it in operation, and then see other people, get sucked into it, or having been encountered of it yourself, you don't really know what brainwashing and gaslighting is. So it's very difficult to share and heal and reach out and have resources and tools for getting through this, to, what I would call getting through the other side, to detox from this extreme gaslighting and psychological hijacking that can occur with a distorted, in what I would call enigmatic or enigma, sort of this puzzled thinking that never gets solved. There is no resolve with these people. There is no closure. There is no settling the score. You cannot go to them and think that you can talk it out and reason and rationalize. The psychopath is not what you see. What you see is not what you get. These individuals have the ability to metamorphosize their physique, their countenance, their facial expressions, the energy, their position, their identity, like a salamander or like a texture-changing octopus that you see in the bottom of the ocean. You know how, if you've ever seen those National Geographic, the way that an octopus looks clear, or, like a white sandy bottom of an ocean, and then when they go over rocks, they metamorphosize the texture of their skin to look like rocks, and then they change into like algae. So they change their color to camouflage them with the event. It is in my viewpoint, in my feeling, that the psychopath is very much like this. They can change their face. They can change their energy, the way that their body moves, and the way that they sort of use negative space to draw attention. So their body, can seem like a letter. The way that they can change the energy in a room to kind of sort of transmute and transform so that you can see things that aren't really there. It's very, very close to like psychotic situations where people, are sort of, there's this alluring magnetic energy. If you have encountered this and have been become extremely paranoid, extremely overwhelmed, taken over, psychologically hijacked by these individuals, even though they appear normal, you will get better. You can come to the other side. It's a very scary thing, and it's very scary because you feel that it'll never get better, or you feel that you cannot function. You can't drive a car. You can't show your face at work. Your family, you cannot tell them what this is because you cannot even describe it. There are very little words in the English language, I feel, that really explain this phenomenon. Although a lot of work has been done by wonderful researchers, Dr. Robert Hare, snakes in suits. You gotta, if you've encountered this, you unequivocally need to learn about this person in order to heal and get through the other side. You need to unequivocally understand that this person is not your regular Joe, your regular Sally. This is not your everyday person. 1% to 4% of the society are thought to be psychopathic. So most people will encounter these people, but not everybody will be sort of, targeted, made vulnerable, broken down, been, the low-hanging fruit that these people go, yup, this is the perfect person. This person has the contacts, they're green, they're naive. They will oftentimes target people who have an abundance of all the good qualities: affectionate, loving, caring, compassionate, all the different qualities that are very humane, very sensitive, caring people, naive, green, the people who think everyone in life is good. These are the people that they really go for. They really strive to break down. The young, the innocent, they try to corrupt them, ruin their life, get them into this tunnel thinking. And believe me, when I unequivocally say that they are out for the ruin, they are out for the destruction, they are out to take people and take them down, take people down, take organizations down, take businesses down, take good people and their families and their kids and these beautiful people down, ruin their life. Unequivocally, I can state in no vague terms that these people are dangerous, despite the fact that they are operational in jobs, in doctors, in judges, in lawyers, in whatever, they are going to be more prominent in specific industries, the finance, the advertising, the music industry, the acting industry, whatever you call it, theater, especially in those circles, your Hollywood, your musicians, your finance people on your Wall Street. But they're in everyday life, no matter where you live. This is a specific type of individual, which is different. They manipulate and they distort and they confuse and they baffle, and really just sort of take over people and kind of, and that they will leave you kind of like with your head spinning, and it's very, very scary. So that's why, really, for those people who have encountered that is why this channel is right here, right now, because there's not enough help in resources for people who have encountered this. There's nowhere for them to turn. You can't go to your general doctor, a typical psychologist, and be like, you're not going to understand this. I can barely describe what I'm feeling, without them being like, we need to get you, inpatient right now. So it's to understand and learn that this type of person exists. And so you might, to get through it, you need to understand and learn about the qualities and identify what had happened. This is going to take a long time for you to kind of come through. How long is it going to take, Peace and Harmony? If you've encountered this, for several years, it's going to take a minimum of 18 months for your internal network to get sort of reset. You're going to need to work hard. You're going to need to utilize some tools. You're going to need to deal with this to come through the other side. And so you're going to need to learn about this type of individual. You're going to need to get a support system like this channel, and, make comments and connections and get, feedback and community with people who have been here, who have, experienced this. You're going to need to work very hard on detoxing from this individual and working very hard in getting yourself safe. Safety and psychological focus, getting out of the tunnel vision of this person and going unequivocally, no contact with them, their cohorts, or, the people who are connected to them. You need to go no contact, get everything out, pictures, emails, whatever it is, phone numbers. You need to unequivocally get them out of your environment. Any gifts that they gave, I still use it, Peace and Harmony. So what? But this is an expensive thing. So what? Throw it out. It can be replaced. Get it out. Anything that has to do with them, get it out of your environment, because it will remain a trigger. This will be in your dreams. You'll feel hyper aroused. It'll be very difficult for you to do everyday things like drive. When in those situations, I want you to understand and know that you can. Despite the fear, I can do this. So you need to really repeat this hundreds and hundreds of times. Despite the fear, I can do this. Despite the fear, I can confront this. Despite the fear, I can do this. What if you encounter this person? No eye contact. No talking in direct communication with them energetically. You turn your body away. You look above their head and say something with a pattern interrupt. Are you going to attend the meeting? You answer the weather, if you have to answer, you do not answer. You just, begin to look off into space and say something completely different. Who cares if you look crazy? You are actually looking sane when you do this. You're recovering and resetting from that psychological gaslighting. You do a pattern interrupt. Look at my previous videos on this as well. A pattern interrupt. You do not have an energetic exchange with these people. You use pattern interrupt. Are you going to the meeting? The weather is so beautiful, and you walk away. You pattern interrupt. You stop engaging with them internally. You take on the recovery journal. You begin to work on affirmations that you repeat over and over and over again, particularly that of confirming your safety. I am safe. I am sane. I am lovable. I am safe. I am safe. Repeating this over and over again. I can trust myself. I am getting through this. I have integrity. I am getting through this. I have ethics. I have values. I am getting through this. I am restoring my love and my humanity. I am getting through this. You need to repeat these again and again and again so it'll reset. The intrusive thoughts, begin to, allow those to go away. Work on the mindfulness techniques and understanding and identifying that this is just a residue of this encounter and that it will go away with time. Getting all of your thoughts out on paper and writing your affirmations 1,000 times. I am safe. I am safe. I love life. I am safe. Writing it again and again and again and again, as well as your values. I value love. I value family. I value prosperity. I value this. Write your values out. Begin just to do it on an automatic process so you can reset your thought process. Begin to stop thinking like this person. Begin to understand that you can keep yourself safe with boundaries and standards. And you need to understand then what is good and what are my lessons learned from this. We need to wrap up. We're going to talk more about this. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope